Good evening. Welcome to 49ers After Dark. We're your hosts, Grant Cohn, Jessie Naylor. How you doing, Jesse?
I'm doing fantastic, Grant. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Almost as good as the 49ers, who are on top of the world. Top of the world. We're going to talk about Kyle Shanahan, how he's improving, Steve Wilks, how he's not getting enough credit, and how much better the Niners are than everyone else. Things I love talking about. First, we'll talk about the news. Eric Armstead, he had a foot issue. Now he's got a knee issue as well. It's not an ACL or an MCL or anything that has a CL, I think. But he's going to miss at least a game, maybe two, according to Kyle Shanahan. Didn't have much more to say about it than that. So instead of speculating about what he has, let's talk about how the 49ers make do without him the next week or two.
Yeah, first of all, let me say that I think this is the right move. I talked about it on my show yesterday, that if he is adding ailments to what he had last week it was just the foot. This week it's the knee. Maybe there's correlation there, maybe not. But either way, this team needs to be healthy making this stretch run. And I think sitting him this next week and possibly the week after is the right move to get him as healthy as you possibly can. He's a key cog on this team. He had a really good game against Philadelphia. He's been pretty damn good all season long, and they're going to need him entering the playoffs. So I like that they're doing this. As far as replacing him, Kinlaw's had a pretty good season. Givens is starting to step up. But a name that I'm excited about who finally got action, Kalia Davis. And I think out of all those players, he might be the best in the run game just off of sheer size and strength. And I'm curious to see how they mix him in. Kinlaw is likely not going to be here next year. And they've got to figure out what they have in Kalia Davis and what that depth looks like going forward. Is he somebody that they can rely on? Do they need to replace him in the draft or through free agency and what have you? They need to figure that out. So I'm actually kind of excited to see Kalia Davis get some run over the next couple of weeks and see what type of player he is or could potentially be. I think this might be a good thing in the long run.
Yeah, they'll be able to develop a few players. And I think this is going to be an interesting maybe platoon between Kalia Davis and Javon Kinlaw. Armstead's expensive, good, because he can, he's a good pass rusher and a good run defender. Losing him is going to really hurt the run defense, or it could if they don't replace that. And Javon Kinlaw's had an excellent year this year, particularly as a pass rusher, surprisingly or ironically, or however you want to look at it. But he's getting a lot of pressure. Not sure how he'll hold up against the run because pad level has been an issue for him. I think more against the run than against the pass. So I want to see what Kalia Davis can do against the run. That's a good call. And I want to see what Javon Kinlaw can do on third down.
I'm also curious to see how the pass rushers on the edge, without Armstead being there, how does Chase Young perform? We know Bosa's going to do his thing, but how are some of the other guys going to do? Chase Young, Gregory, how's he going to do without the benefit of having Eric Armstead next to him? Because that is a big deal. I mean, Eric Armstead, a lot of the times, is the reason that other players get sacks. He's the one that's pressuring up the middle, forcing them out to the edge. And without him there, I want to know how those players can play because they're going to have to step up in his absence as well.
Absolutely. All right. Niners signed Logan Ryan yesterday. He was on a cruise when he got signed, He's been watching film. He's been grinding tape. He's been in the gym. He started a lot of games in the NFL. He's won a Super Bowl. He's not that old. Why do you think the 49ers signed Logan Ryan?
It's interesting because on the surface, you look at it and say, all right, they lost a couple players at the safety position. Obviously, they need depth, which I agree with. But you usually aren't signing a 32-year-old player who's been a Pro Bowler in the past, has rings, to play special teams and just be a backup guy. I'm curious to see if he ends up taking over for Jair Brown, if they're fully confident in Jair Brown. I think he's played pretty good, but he's definitely shown up. He showed up early in this last game a couple times in a negative way. I think for the most part, he's been fine, but I don't know. I just feel like the safeties, Grant, this year, whether it's Jair Brown, Talanoa Funga, Gibson, I just feel like there's redundancy between those three players. And maybe this brings something a little bit different as far as coverage skills, veteran leadership. What he's now, I think he makes two players now on the 49ers that have actually won rings. So I think he's definitely going to bring that veteran leadership. But I don't know, man. I almost feel like they might have brought him in to start. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's something to it because he was making the point. He's made a lot of money. He doesn't have to play. That's why he has been playing. He was waiting for the right situation. And is the right situation replacing George Odom as the 49ers third or fourth string safety? Or is the right situation, hey, we lost Talanoa Hufanga and we want to win the Super Bowl this year and we like our rookie safety, but we don't really trust rookies at all. And so we would kind of like a vet just in case the rookie does something rookie-ish. What do you say? And maybe that was more appealing. Like, hey, I can go potentially start for a Super Bowl winning team. And the only person standing between me and that opportunity is a rookie who has started, what, 3 games? 2?
2 games. Yeah, 3 games.
2.
No, 2
Okay.
games. 2 games. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
he came in the Tampa game. So, yeah, you're
That's an
absolutely
appealing
right about
situation.
that.
Yeah, that's an appealing situation.
He talked about how he's got plenty of money, how he's got a family business he can run. He's never played on the West Coast.
Mm-mm.
He's
Like,
moving
why
his
would he
family
do this?
across country. Yeah.
No, he's not moving his family. They're not coming with him, but he's moving
Oh, they're
himself
not.
and he's
Okay.
separating himself from his family. I mean, he's got 2
Either way.
kids. He's got a wife. They're not coming. Like, they'll come for maybe, Christmas or something like that. But you kidding? See you later, Logan. See you when you get home, buddy. Like, they have school. They have a house. Like, no way. That's something you're going to do on your own, and it's going to be worth it for you. Why? So he could be George Odom's replacement? And I don't like for he's got to have a path to play.
I think
He
so
must have
too.
looked at the Jair Brown film and was like, oh, you know what? I can help.
I think so too.
I
I
can
think
help.
so too. And I don't think it's not a knock against Jair Brown at all. I think he's going to be a fine player. But when you're trying to win a Super Bowl and you lose an all pro talent in Talanoa Hufanga, whether you agree or not that he was playing that way this year, that may not be the case. But he's still a veteran and he still was an all pro last year. That is a big hit. Jair Brown is fine and he's probably going to be fine. But I think they're looking for a little bit better. I think that they're looking for a guy who knows how to win these big games. And Jair Brown is a good special teamer as well. So it makes sense that maybe he would slide back to special teams. I don't think you're going to see it this week. I would kind of be surprised if you don't see it against Arizona, though. But we'll see. I mean, maybe he is here to play special teams. That would be weird, I think, but I don't see it. But maybe.
The last play I can remember involving Jair Brown was him missing that tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I can't remember making a play the last couple weeks. And again, this is like crunch time for the season. He's a rookie. The Niners might not trust him down the stretch. In fact, signing Logan Ryan kind of indicates that they don't, and they're hedging their bets. Doesn't mean that Jair Brown's going to lose his job, but Logan Ryan likes his opportunity to put it in football terms. It's a good opportunity for Logan Ryan.
Yeah, I do think it provides depth in an interesting way, though. I mean, when we look at the nickel corner position, Deommodore Lenoir being there has been great. But if Ambry Thomas goes down, or if they decide that they want to move Lenoir back outside, can they do a 3 safety thing like they've done in the past? And Logan Ryan could be the nickel corner. So maybe they see something with that as well. I'm open to all possibilities for sure. I think it does give him some versatility, but I think Logan Ryan at this stage in his career might be a little bit better than Jair Brown. We'll see.
Official BNA Music 88 says they could have kept Jimmy Ward. LOL.
He had the walk-off pick this last game. Did you know that? I don't know if you saw that in the Texans. He had the walk-off pick.
Yeah. Excellent play. What a player. Joey Mellon says 300 likes. You can do better, Grant. Do y'all think Greenlaw ruined his chances of being a Pro Bowler? Yes. I do think that this reputation that he's developed, fair or unfair, I guess it's fair, has hurt him in terms of accolades and money because he's a really good player. He's better than he's like the most underrated player in the team.
Yeah, I don't think that this hurt his chances to be a Pro Bowler at all. No, I don't think so. I think he Yeah, I do. I don't
Good.
think the linebacker position is very talented across the NFL overall, and the 49ers happen to have two really good ones. He was this close to being an All-Pro last year, Grant. So, and he's playing better this year, I think. So, I don't know.
Feels
As,
overdue.
as far
So
as the
yeah.
second question goes,
Oh yeah. What? Hold on. Second question. Joey Mellons. What is it? Do I start
so
Metcalf?
Ayuk and Nakua for sure are playing. If you play three wide receivers, I'm playing Metcalf over Drake London.
Brother Bob says Eaglet and Nails. MMK and I have a cut up of it. Hold on. MMK and I have a cut up of it shows with Larry BSing and backpedaling about BA. MMK did a great job. Okay, for me to post it. A bunch of
Receipts. You do what you want, man. I'm not involved in it. I'm not retweeting it. I'm not
involved.
none of that stuff.
You need my approval.
Do what you want.
Involved. I'm not faithful to the Bay. Says if the Cowboys don't beat the Eagles and we secure the playoffs against the Seahawks, why don't we just tank the rest of the season, rest the starters, and put in the backups? We go into the playoffs fully healthy and rested and rusty.
No, because then there's a rust issue. I will say this: if they're not going to get the number 1 seed, I hope that week 18 against the Rams, they play their starters for a quarter to keep them kind of in rhythm and then sit them and get ready for the playoffs. If you're not going to get the bye week, you kind of have to create one a little bit. I think that would be ideal.
Definitely. All right.
Did you read that last one or no?
Did I not read the last one? Am I tripping today? Hold on. Yeah, I didn't. Cameron Holland says, why does Purdy get the weapons argument MVP talks, but the last 2 years, no one has done the same to Hurts? Eagles have better line and great weapons.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that you're going to get that whenever MVP conversations come in. Hurts wasn't the MVP last year either, but I think that you're kind of seeing Hurts have to do certain things. And even though he's in year 4 and is coming off of an MVP caliber season from last year and a great Super Bowl performance, there's still question marks. And I think looking at a guy like Hurts being questioned still should make you feel better about Purdy getting questions in year 2 and know that this is normal across the league. This is not just a Brock Purdy thing. So just chill. He'll be fine.
This kind of reminds me when I was a kid and the Rams had the best offense. And 1 year Marshall Faulk was the MVP. 1 year Kurt Warner was the MVP, I believe. It's like, it's hard. I mean, you can make the argument that Brock Purdy is not the MVP of his own offense, that it's Christian McCaffrey. So that's a tough one. And you could go back and forth on that. I think the MVP should probably come from the 49ers, though.
I mean, unless Tyreek gets 2,000 receiving yards, that's a historic season. So I don't know.
That's true. Okay, let's talk Steve Wilks. Is he getting enough credit? He got a lot of criticism back in the day. Feels like a long time ago, but that happened. Then all of a sudden, he tightened his defense up. They don't really give up any points anymore, and people are like, let's talk about that offense.
It's interesting. No, he's not getting enough credit when you compare it to the criticism. A lot of people wanted him fired. And going into the bye week, I had posted some numbers comparing his first 8 games to D'Amico's, and the defense was much better under Wilks. And then I compared those 8 games to D'Amico's first 8 games last year, and the defense this year was slightly better even than last year's defense through 8 games. Yet people wanted him fired. I thought that there was a possibility he was going to get fired. I didn't necessarily want him fired, but I did think that there was that possibility. The way that things seem to be going on in the building and everybody being unhappy, then they're talking about should he be in the booth or not. It just seemed kind of petty to me. I'm like, man, I don't know. One more bad game and you could see it go downhill for him. That being said, these games since the bye week, first of all, this was supposed to be the toughest stretch of the schedule, Grant. The one that they're just about to end this Sunday against the Seahawks. So far, they've gone through that stretch on defense, giving up 10.5 points a game in those 4 games that they've played so far. One more game and they're out of the quote unquote tough stretch. 10.5 points a game. Really, if you look at it, it's going to net out to 12 points a game, but 7 of that came from the pick 6 against Seattle, which is not on the defense at all. So 42 points in 4 games. Some of that came in garbage time against the Eagles. Grant, this defense has been phenomenal. And I feel like, we talk about MVPs and Brock Purdy and CMC and how excited we are about Debo getting his 3 touchdowns and the offense. But when they were losing, nobody wanted to put any problems on the offense or Kyle Shanahan or any of those things. It was all Wilks' fault. But now that they're winning again, nobody wants to talk about the defense and Wilks. It's an interesting situation that I see. No, Wilks is not getting enough credit. We should be talking about Steve Wilks a lot more, especially if you wanted him fired. He needs his praise. He really does.
Yeah, he should be in the running for coordinator of the year.
Yes.
Like D'Amico and Saleh got so much credit for what they did. But, I mean, you could argue that Steve Wilks right now has a better defense than either of those two ever put together. He's got really good players, but, I mean, he's got Ambry Thomas playing well. What he's done with Ambry Thomas, that you start there with Steve Wilks. He got Chase Young, and he has a lot of good players, but, like, look at Ambry Thomas. D'Amico couldn't do that.
I agree.
D'Amico could not do that. There were limits to what D'Amico and Saleh could do, and they're great linebacker coaches. They developed Greenlaw and Fred Warner, and that's huge. But the Niners haven't had someone who could develop DBs like this since, I don't know, not since I've been covering the team.
When has Charvarius Ward just played against the best receiver and followed him all around the field before this year? Hasn't really happened. So, I mean, maybe here or there you would see it for a drive or something like that, but not for full games at this rate. I mean, he went DK and then AJ Brown, and he's probably going to shadow DK again this week. I mean, it's all credit to Steve Wilks. It has to be the development of Ambry Thomas, the development of Lenore, and I want to say this too. It showed up during training camp. The way that he would pull players aside and coach in the moment was really fun to watch. And I talked about it almost, it seemed like after every training camp practice, it was like, man, this guy really gets in the weeds. He's watching drills. He's coaching in the moment. He is a hands-on coach. I know that he prefers to be in the booth and whatever, but I think during the week, during practice, he really is putting in that effort to make these players better. And he spent a lot of time with that secondary. And also the fact that Jair Brown was able to come in, I know that he may not, we just talked about him possibly getting replaced. Maybe that happens. Either way, for a rookie to slide in for an all-pro player in Talanoa Hufanga, and this defense doesn't miss a beat against good teams, that says something too. He's developing a lot of these young players.
We'll talk about Lenore for a second.
Yeah.
Like, who has he become? Who does he think he is?
So good.
He's so good. He's physical. He's a good tackler. He's way bigger than he was a couple of years ago. And now he talks trash. Like, is he my favorite player on the team? Maybe.
Maybe.
He's like the new Jimmy Ward. Like, that's what Jimmy was like. Jimmy was unapologetic, tougher than you think, stronger than you think, more violent than you think, can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's good. I like Diamador Lenore. And I think this maybe started before Steve Wilks got here, but look at how Steve Wilks has him playing inside and outside. That's ambitious. He's doing it really well.
Yeah, he is. He is. And really, like you said, it starts and ends with Ambry Thomas. I thought he was going to get cut this offseason, Grant.
Dude, he may have. Bad.
So awful. Oh, my God.
Bad. Just shows what a coach can do.
Every single time he was on the field, and you'll back me up on this because I talked about it yesterday. Every time he was on the field, you almost could say, here comes a slant, 10 yards guaranteed. And they would just pick on him didn't matter if he was against Debo, didn't matter if he was against Jennings, Ray, Ayuk. They went at him every single time he stepped on the field. They attacked him.
They absolutely did. All right, let's play more than or less than. It's time. It started off as the over-under game. It's the more than or less than game sponsored by PrizePicks. Let's go through all of them for fun. Hold on, let me get this thing out. All right. I should stop saying. All right. Brandon Ayuk, 4.5 receptions. More than or less than? 4.5 against Seattle. They're gonna bracket him. You saw what they did. They made him the focus of their defense. They're not playing around. They actually have the Niners scouted pretty well. They're just not good. We have 3 catches in that game.
Yeah, something like that.
He had 3 against the
He has,
Seahawks.
and last year he didn't. I remember the last game against Seattle because it lost me my fantasy football championship eventually and a lot of money. He didn't perform there either. So Seattle does hold him down. They do a good job. It's gut feeling. I have no reason to say this, but I'm going to say more.
More. Okay,
Yep.
let's disagree right there. I'm going to go less.
All
I
right.
think Seattle's going to try to make the Niners go somewhere else. Although they tried that last time and got embarrassed. Maybe they'll switch it up. So let's do it this one. Brandon Ayuk, 67.5 receiving yards, more than or less than?
Less.
You're going to say more.
No, I'm
Less.
going to say less. Yeah.
So 5 catches for 60 yards?
5
Okay,
for 55 or something like that.
I'm going less too, but I'm just going to stick with that one. Purdy, 256.5 passing yards against Seattle. More than or less than?
You know, it's interesting, and we talked about this earlier in the year, but Seattle really has the pieces that should give the 49ers troubles. Their coaching is awful. They're schematically, they're terrible. It just really doesn't make any sense. They're underwhelming from a performance aspect, but you look at them player for player, that defense should be doing much better. I just don't trust the defensive coaching there, or the scheme, or any of it. I'm going to say more.
Yeah, I'm going to say more too. I think the Niners are sort of blossoming into a passing team. I think they're going to press the issue with that. So Brock Purdy more. Let's do that. Chase Young, quarter sack, more than or less than? Chase Young? Hey, let me say something about Chase. Yeah, I think so too, because I feel like they always give the good matchups to Nick Young, to Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
You know, if just Jason Peters is out there, like, look, Chase, you're gonna Nick's getting that. Nick's gonna.
Well, also last game they were without their starting right tackle. He'd been out since week 1, I think, and he's back. He came back last week. Yeah.
I guess the Seahawks are gonna win. Just kidding. McCaffrey, 80.5 rushing yards, more than or less than? 80.5.
It seems like it's so easy. maybe I'm just like overthinking this. It seems like it should be easy, 80.5 for him. I'm gonna say less than, just because it seems like usually Vegas and these PrizePicks and stuff, they know something.
Smashing that more. I don't know. I just feel like you underestimate this little side bet that Kyle and Mike McDaniel have going on right now about offensive player of the year or MVP. And Mike McDaniel is not taking his foot off the gas with the Tyreek Hill train. No. I don't think Kyle will with McCaffrey. Now, maybe it won't be rushing yards. Maybe it'll be, yards from scrimmage and touchdowns, but I'm going over. Yeah. I don't care.
Okay.
But what about 4 receptions for McCaffrey? More than or less than?
More.
I agree. Debo, 4 receptions, more than or less than?
Less.
Ooh.
That's weird that it's not set at a half, by the way.
I know. Let's do the receiving yards then. 49.5 receiving yards for Debo. More than or less than?
Less than.
Why? He's on fire and it's Seattle.
Because he
just proved himself.
He just went crazy. And I mean, I think he could break one maybe in rushing. I have a feel. I don't know. When was the last time Debo put together back-to-back really good games?
Okay, I'm persuaded. George Kittle, 4 receptions.
Less.
Oof. Okay, so 51.5 receiving yards for Kittle, more than or less?
More. They don't have anybody that can cover him. It'll be like Dallas, 3 catches for 3 touchdowns and 40 yards or something.
Jake Moody, field goal and a half. That would imply that the Niners didn't score a touchdown on some of their drives.
Right. And they've been more aggressive too. I'll say less.
I'll say less too. Hargrave, quarter sack.
More.
Okay, let's do one Seahawks one just for fun, just for giggles.
Because actually, let's do DK because DK did nothing last time.
Okay, 5 receptions for DK.
Less.
5. Yeah, I'm with that. And then 61.5 receiving yards.
More. I'm gonna go more there.
Big plays.
Yeah,
big plays. But yeah, okay, I'm with that. All right, that's what we got. We got less for Ayuk, more for Purdy, more for McCaffrey, less for Debo, more for Kittle, and more for Metcalf if you're playing along with us at home. And if you want to play, definitely use my promo code COHN. Get that 100% deposit match up to $100. That just doubles your wager, doubles your entry. That's it. That's what we got. We place it. Boom. and now it's official, and now I'm going to win all the money.
All
the
of the
money.
monies. Yeah.
All the money. All right. So we gave Steve Wilks his flowers. What about Kyle Shanahan? Is he evolving? I mean, he lost so spectacularly in the NFC Championship game, and he made every excuse and acted like it wasn't his fault. And then he went back, faced him again, and had a totally different attack. And it was breathtaking. It was so good after him being so wrong. Not even 12 months ago. Is he learning? Is he evolving? Is this offense changing? I think he is. That's the answer. Okay, next topic.
I'm actually
Sorry.
surprised you didn't catch this. My answer is going to be yes, and I'll explain why in a minute. But I'm surprised you didn't catch this. Before the Ayuk touchdown, I think it was actually before the third down where they caught Sweat off sides.
Mhm.
They left Reddick completely unblocked, and it almost blew everything up on that play. I think Brock Purdy ended up having to get rid of it really quick, throwing it out of the back of the end zone. And I'm like, why are you just leaving him unblocked again and allowing him to go after Purdy? That didn't make sense. That was the only time in that game where I looked at it and said, all right, the game plan on Reddick right there was not good. The rest of the game, they did a great job. They went right at him. They did exactly what they should have done last year. I do think he's evolving, but not necessarily from a game plan aspect. I think he's always had these moments where he's had really good game plans, and maybe sometimes it's less to be desired, what have you. But I think his personality is evolving. I think his temperament's evolving. I think a lot of that is Brock Purdy just being comfortable with Brock. But really, I've noticed it all season long. He takes accountability when things aren't going right. He, even with the Wilks situation, I think he was wrong in the way that he handled it in front of the press. But the next time he got in front of the press, he's like, you know what? Really, ultimately, like I could have called a timeout in that situation. I should have called the timeout. Even if he's making a mistake, he's learning on the fly. So for me, I think his growth and his ability to evolve is less about play calling and schematically and more about personality traits and leadership wise. I think that's where I've seen the biggest changes in Kyle Shanahan. So
Interesting. I think it's both. I'm going to focus on the schematics. I like
Okay,
how
let's
you
talk
broke
about it.
down his leadership, because that's a big one too. Big, and it's apparent. But schematically, it seems like he's been so locked into his dad's style of offense. We're a run first team. We do outside zone. The outside zone sets up play action with bootlegs left and right. It's like they're very like, this is how we play, and this is what we're gonna do. And that's how they were. That's how Kyle was in Atlanta with Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. Like, they were the number one offense in the league, but they were very much an outside zone team that set up play action. And that's how they were with Jimmy. That's how they've been with Brock, and it didn't work It didn't work. And I think one thing that JT O'Sullivan against Philly, one thing JT O'Sullivan has been trying to say with the Niners is love your run game, love your play action passing game. Both top notch. They marry together extremely well. Where is your drop back passing game? Like, it's rudimentary. It's stuck in 2004. Where is it? And I think we saw it against Philly. They came out in the gun. They were in the gun the whole time. It wasn't really about establishing the run or slow, long developing play action passes that get the quarterback out in the perimeter. Like, it was about putting Purdy in the shotgun, trusting him to make quick decisions and getting the ball into some of the best playmakers' hands in the league and winning that way. And I think, like, we're waiting for that evolution, because it's great to have a run game and a play action passing game, but the teams that win Super Bowls are the teams that can drop back and pass. And you have the weapons. You have the quarterback. It ain't Jimmy anymore, man. You trust it. And I think you're starting to see that he's trusting it, and he realizes he doesn't have to sort of take the ball out of the quarterback's hands anytime something. Like, no, you can trust not just Brock, but Brock with that supporting cast. That's
all of the stuffs.
All of it. Yeah, man. Like, you have as good of a quintet of weapons as any team, any Niners team ever. Trust it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead. Stop.
I agree, but I will say this. I think that we do quickly forget there were times where they used the short passing game like a running game, in my opinion, with Jimmy. And Jimmy ran mostly out of shotgun because that's what he's comfortable with. The difference with Brock is that he can play under center, he can play shotgun, he can do pistol, he can run play action, he can do everything. Jimmy, not so much. When you look at Brock, I mean, even this year, there are times where it does feel like they're throwing a lot, but he's gone over 31 attempts only one time this year. One time.
Kyle did that
37
shotgun
against the
stuff with
Giants.
Jimmy, like begrudgingly, because Jimmy couldn't do anything else. Like he did that
Yeah.
this Sunday because he knew it was the best way to win. That's why I feel like it's an It's like
Okay,
he
okay,
wasn't like,
that's fair.
"My
That's
quarterback
fair.
sucks,
That's
I
fair.
have to do this." It's like,
That's fair.
"Actually,
That's
we're
fair.
gonna play this game left-handed on offense, and it's gonna work." Like that. So that was cool. I don't know. I don't know.
That's totally fair. That is
Real
that
quick,
is
like I was comparing him to the greatest show on turf, right? Like that team had Marshall Faulk, one of the best running backs ever. He was a MVP candidate, but they didn't run the ball that much. They led the league in like passing because they had freaking Marshall Faulk, who could also catch, plus Torrey Holt, plus Isaac Bruce, plus Oz Hakeem. They didn't even have a tight end that was that great. And obviously, you want to pass and you trust your quarterback. Kurt Warner's great. Well, a lot of people compare Brock Purdy to Kurt Warner, right? Like everyone says they trust Brock Purdy. He's an MVP candidate. He could be the MVP. Why are you taking the ball out of his hands? Good things happen when he throws most of the time. And I think I don't know. I think Kyle's getting it. Maybe he'll revert in this game, but I think what we've seen is him trusting Purdy at least since the bye week.
Yeah. Well, and he should. I mean, if you're here's the thing, Grant. If you're gonna go all in on a quarterback the way they did this offseason with Brock Purdy, you showed that you trusted him a lot. You can't then get in games and just not trust him. Like that's not the way this works. They have to trust him. And I do agree. I think there were times early in the season where we thought the trust was fully there. And then it got a little squirrely for that 3-game stretch. We're like, okay, does he trust him? Does he not? Because it seems like he doesn't in certain situations. And now you're starting to see that, yes, he fully trusts him to come out against a team like Philadelphia and throw immediately shows that he has full trust in Brock Purdy. And I think that's a really good thing going forward. Now, if he throws a near pick in the playoffs to a linebacker over the middle, like Jimmy Garoppolo did, does he take the ball out of his hands? I don't know. And I think that's when you would see the quote unquote
Evolution.
how much he's evolved when.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like it's great now, but if it happens in the playoffs, does he turtle up? That is the real question.
That's a great point. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I just feel like, man, you're spending $15 million a year on your all-pro tight end. You're spending $16 million a year on your all-pro running back. You're spending darn near $24 million a year on your all-pro gadget wide receiver. And you're about to give about $25 million a year to Brandon Ayuk. Like, you have the weapons. And you love your quarterback. So why are you so afraid to pass? Why are you at the bottom of the league in pass attempts? You don't have to be. And some weeks, I mean, hey, some weeks you can win that way and it's fine. But going up against the Eagles, that's not the way to beat them with that. You can work around that D line. You don't have a great offensive line. You don't. You can work around it with a shotgun, quick passing game against dominant D lines. And now we know that they can. So now it's like, man, how do you beat the 49ers? Maybe you don't. Maybe they just beat themselves sometimes.
Well, and he's got the ultimate safety blanket in CMC. I mean, that's the same safety blanket that made Jimmy Garoppolo stop tap dancing in the pocket. For 5 games, Jimmy Garoppolo looked the opposite of what we thought of Jimmy Garoppolo. The moment that CMC was here, you saw him get comfortable. You saw him go 4 games with no turnovers when he had never gone 3. So you've got that in conjunction with Purdy just being a more calm player anyways, a more confident player anyways. Why not? Why not let him throw the ball? Why not let him beat teams through the air, especially teams like Philadelphia who can't stop the passing game at all? And we talked about it this week. I thought that he was going to play very well. I think in last week's more than less than, I said he wasn't going to throw a pick. I said he was going to go over 300 plus yards. It was there. It was a matter of would Kyle let him do it? And he did. He did let him do it. And it worked.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to try to get the ball over the top like Miami is, what is the point of play action? Yeah, you can get those, 15-yard throws over the middle, but also what makes your team special is not your plethora of receivers who can win on dig routes over the middle and intermediate range. Like Jawan Jennings can do that. Sure, that's great. You can do that. Everyone can do that on your team. But what makes your offense unique is the yak guys. Yak guys. Like, there's so many easy throws in your offense, extended handoffs, throws you never have to worry about getting intercepted. That could be 50-yard touchdowns. That's your offense. That's it. don't embrace it. You don't have to run 40 times. Remember, we like to run the ball 30, 40 times a game if we have to. You don't have to anymore.
No.
You don't have that. Those days are over. Those struggle days are over. Don't do that anymore. The game is too easy now.
And I think that the 49ers over the last few years have been at their best because with Jimmy, you couldn't stretch the field horizontally or vertically. So you had to do it horizontally. And that's when they were at their best. And it seems like at times with Brock Purdy, because they can stretch it vertically a little bit more and they do trust him to throw downfield a little bit more, that they've almost abandoned stretching the field horizontally. And it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's still in the bag. You can still do this from time to time and use that as the extension of the run game. There's no rule that says you can't go both ways. So, yes, I think that them stretching the field horizontally every once in a while is a really, really good idea to mix back into things.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's how Debo gets big games. That's where he's at his best. Let him catch the ball near or behind the line of scrimmage and make big plays behind a brigade of receivers blocking in front of him. That's when he's at his best.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is like if the best coaches will take a group of players and build their offense around them. And Kyle can do that. He did it last week. A lot of times he's stuck in his system and looks for guys to run his system and just is stuck in his tendencies. Like, we're going to run the ball this many times. If Andy Reid were coaching this team, if Bill Walsh were coaching this team, they would throw a lot more. They would, but they wouldn't be, down the field. It wouldn't be like Miami. It would be a lot of extended handoffs because it just seems like that's probably a more effective way to use McCaffrey. Instead of lining Debo up in the I formation and pitching him the ball, just throw it to him. You can walk it to him, but it seems like a shallow cross. I'd rather do that than have him run outside zone.
I agree.
Shallow freaking cross. That worked.
I agree.
Good job. Yeah.
And you're protecting CMC. You're protecting CMC from those car crashes, those 20 plus car crashes every game. Why not? Why not?
Also, you're the Niners. Why not the West Coast offense? Why do the Niners have to be a run first team all the time? Like they play in Cleveland, like it's -3 over here. Like you can throw the ball. It's Northern California. You can do it.
So whenever there's criticism towards Kyle Shanahan, the comeback is always, well, half the league is doing what Kyle does. Okay, that's great. Which coach from that system running his system has actually won the Super Bowl? If he's so great, if that offensive system is so fantastic, who's won a Super Bowl? McVay. And how did he win it? By doing the exact opposite of what Kyle Shanahan and they continuously run. They got away from the running game. They went with 3 wide receivers. They used the short passing game in Cooper Kupp. That's how they won a Super Bowl, was not running this system. So we can talk about, Kyle Shanahan's so great and his system's so great because half the league runs it. Well, then that means that they should be winning Super Bowls if half the coaches are running his system, right? But they're not winning Super Bowls. So really, is it that great of a system? Maybe you should mix it up. Maybe you should go short passing game.
Systems don't win championships.
Mm-hmm.
Systems are nice. Systems help, but you have to be flexible. And Kyle has been kind of rigid for a while. So rigid in his faithfulness to his dad's philosophy, core tenets, whatever. Now he's flexible. Now it's like, okay, that didn't work. That didn't work against Philly last time. I'm going to say it should have worked, but I'm going to do something totally different next time. And I don't know. I just feel like Bill Walsh should have been like, attaboy, atta kid. Way to go, Kyle. You did it. You grew up. You figured it out. Like, I just felt like it was such a big moment, that game for Kyle, given what happened last time he went to Philly, what his game plan was, how he defended it, and then what his game plan was. It was a complete admission that he had the wrong game plan. Let's do it totally different. Let's start out empty. They want to empty the first 2 plays. It didn't work out, but he made a big statement like, we're not doing play action today. Sorry, doesn't matter. We're just going to get the ball into Debo's hands, and you can't tackle him. Good luck.
Yeah, and it started out really rocky, but the game plan was phenomenal.
Well, it's not necessarily how they normally play offense.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they had to settle down a little bit. They figured it out, though. They made it look really easy for a while.
Yeah, they did.
Really easy. And the Eagles look like they were like, what is this, man? We didn't prepare for any of this.
Mm-hmm.
Swing pass? You didn't tell me about the swing pass. What is that? I don't know. Gotta love it. Lobs All Day says when Falk won MVP, Kurt Warner had 21 TDs, 18 receptions, and was benched for a game. Yeah, he only started like 11 games that year. That's true. Also, Falk was great. I feel like Christian McCaffrey and Marshall Falk are similar.
Yeah.
When the Niners traded for Christian McCaffrey, I was like, it's not like they got Marshall Falk or anything. I didn't get it. He's that good. Brother Bob. Yeah. Nail said it's okay, Grant. You okay? Don't be scared. I like the inklet that calls out peeps and don't let BS. You know, the QC Iggy don't. Something answer Fernando. Nail said it's okay. What's he talking about? That was like 20 minutes ago.
He's talking about putting together a video. Like I said, do whatever you want. I'm just not going to be involved in it. I don't really, you know what I mean? I'm not getting involved in the riff-raff.
Go for it. I would say yes. Do it. Brother Bob says Wilks has a number 1 defense, right? Nuff said. Brooks says Carolina should send Wilks a "you up" text. Joey Mellon says there was a time when we thought Demo was trash. Keep running, Thomas and Brown. Sure. I just feel like it's good to have a hedge in case.
Did we ever think that Demo was trash? Where is that crowd at? I don't ever remember that conversation.
Put me there. Sean says Lenore and Ayuk practicing against BA ever could be paying dividends. Iron sharpens iron. Same with Purdy practicing against top 5 defense and learning his limitations. It's a good point.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a good point. I would agree. Ambry, not Ayuk. Lenore and Ambry. True. SD Niners says, what you guys think about Brock Purdy as comeback player of the year?
He didn't come back. He didn't miss any time. I don't, you know what I mean? Like he's not. No,
I never know who's
I don't think he qualifies. I don't think he qualifies. And I think that the moment that DeMar Hamlin played a single snap, it was his award. I don't see how you go any other direction. The man died on the football field. Like, I don't.
Yeah, that's a good point. I can't really argue. Brother Bob says, has PrizePicks told you their biz is up because of you? I don't know. I hope. I'm trying to help, man. I'm trying to help. I'm just on PrizePicks team. Dave Barclay says, sub, gentlemen. How much I miss?
Nothing.
40.
I wouldn't even go back and watch, really. It's not worth it.
Daz says, I heard TDP was waived today. Can't help but think Sermon and TDP picks could have helped the O-line. No, they needed those picks.
Yeah.
TDP, man. The TDP era.
Back-to-back years, they drafted running back in the 3rd round, and back-to-back years, they got rid of those running backs. That's crazy.
Real OBJ CDT says Purdy's biggest strength is that he has ice in his veins, even in adverse environments. I remember Kaepernick playing in Seattle, deer in headlights. Hold on. Was the Vikings game that long ago? I'm sorry. Was the Vikings game that long ago? Like, I know he's won 4 games in a row and it's football. We're all prisoners in the moment, but I just want to see it for a couple more months. There's a streak in Purdy that I want to know more about.
I think I do think his mental. I think mentally it's a strength for him. I do. I think that's one thing that I really liked about him coming out of college. I guess my issue isn't necessarily with the Purdy comment, but more so the Kaepernick comment. Do we not remember him in the playoffs? Is that like we just forgot about the way he played in some of those games?
He carried teams to victories.
Against Seattle, one of the best defenses of all times. He looked like a deer in the headlights as a passer at times, I guess. But they still had a chance to win that game at the end. And that was an all-time best defense.
One offense.
Top 7 defense of all time at worst? That was a really good defense. Do we not remember what he did in the Super Bowl? Do we not remember what he did against the Packers in playoff games? I mean, okay. I guess he didn't have ice in his veins either.
City Burt says Dom was on Paterno Penn State. That explains a lot. Does it? Brother Bob says we better re-sign BA hands down. No brainer. Give him the money. He's going to be so expensive, but they're going to give it to him. Okie 49er says big OU fan here. BP is for real. He gave us fits every year. Had big comeback against us with Hurts one year and almost beat us in Big 12 championship another year. Had ISU ranked 8th that year, 2020.
Yeah, I remember. That was the year they played Oregon in the bowl game, and that was when I started to take notice, was around November of that year. So yeah, I agree.
Didn't Jake Browning have Washington ranked like 5th?
He did. Yeah, he did. Jake Browning was pretty damn good in college too.
Jake Browning, man. And he was pretty damn good this week.
I think he won Offensive Player of the Week in the AFC.
He's great. He was really good. Lobs all day
Yeah.
said if Niners had a top 10 O-line speed wide receiver that could stretch the field vertically, this offense breaks every NFL record with Purdy at quarterback.
Sure, but you basically are describing a perfect offense. So, I mean, what more do you want? You can't have everything. You're going to have a weakness somewhere.
Sacrifice. I'm not against it, man. Like you can get a speedy wide receiver on a rookie deal, and you can actually put some of these resources into O-line instead of freaking D-line.
I agree. Yeah. I wish that they were dumping resources into the offensive line. I think they've waited too long. I don't disagree with any of that. But in a salary cap era, you're not going to have a perfect team. I mean, what if you want them to have the offensive line, then you're going to take away some of the weapons. Like that's just the way that it works. I don't know.
But I think just Lobs is saying that, like, the Niners offense, like Purdy could be even better if the Niners weren't so hell-bent on building to their defense.
Sure.
Maybe.
I mean,
yeah.
I think every quarterback could be better if you give them 5 All-Pros and an elite offensive line. I think every quarterback might be a little bit better than what they are right now.
Dave Barclay says, why do I get excited whenever 24 comes in? I don't know. That's between you. And I don't know. He is good, though. And now he might get some more opportunities because Elijah Mitchell, his knee is injured again. Sorry, Elijah. Dave,
is it? I didn't even catch that. Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's not.
Can't stay healthy, man.
It's sore. He may play, but it seems like the kind of week where if you're hurt, you might not play. You know what I mean? The Niners.
I agree.
2 different vibes. So sometimes it's like, hey, man, if you can walk, you need to be on the field. That was last week. This week is more like, hey, we kind of proved ourselves and playoffs are coming up. So if you got something you're working through, this is a good week to sort of take a week off. And that's when I worry about the Niners because their whole mentality is different. In the locker room this week, no one's asking them questions about the Seahawks. It's like that game's not happening. It's all questions about Dre Greenlaw and Dom DeSandro and whatever. But they essentially don't have a game this week. They're coasting around the locker room, and people are getting weeks off, which is fine. They should still destroy the Seahawks. But this is when I worry about the Niners, weeks like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game has a potential to play out differently. I wouldn't pick Seattle to win by any means, but I don't know that they necessarily get blown out in that fashion again. I think they got some confidence offensively against Dallas. Yeah. I'll be curious to see if Kenneth Walker comes back. Their offensive line has improved mightily in 2 weeks because of some health reasons. And they're a desperate team. I mean, they're a team that right now, if the playoffs started, would not be in the playoffs. They need this win in a big way because then next week they play the Eagles. So it's likely that after these 2 weeks, their season is done if they don't win at least one of these games. This is going to be huge for them. Again, I do expect the Niners to win, but now you add in no Armstead and, things could get interesting. This is the NFL. Every week is not going to be a coast of a game. That's just not the way it works.
It's true. I just can't see the Niners ever losing to Geno Smith, but things happen.
Yeah.
Dave Barclay says, I did say we could do without Debo last year. Yeah, King. Well, good thing he's still on the team. Dave says, I feel like those of us who hated Jimmy Garoppolo are vindicated. He's a backup quarterback. He's a healthy backup quarterback behind Aiden O'Connell. Like the people like me 4 years ago who were like, hey, maybe Nick Mullins is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Like it wasn't that. Aiden O'Connell ended up being better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And Aiden O'Connell is like a better version of Nick Mullins.
It's crazy because when he was at his peak, I said he's anywhere from 17 to 22 in the league. And
he's like
at the time, people were mad because they thought he was top 12, top 10, whatever. And turns out I gave him too much credit. He's not 17 to 22 at all.
Not even top 30. Official BNA Music 88 says Kyle sacrificing third round running backs to the NFL Illuminati. Stay woke.
Stay woke.
Lucky Rosario says resign Jenkins or draft Jerry Rice's son. I don't watch college football.
I'm not worried about Jerry Rice's son. I just think that they already have somebody in Ronnie Bell that is going to replace him. So
Lob says Hurts is the best wide receiver duo, top 5 tight end when healthy, and the best O-line in the NFL. And I've always thought he sucks. So Jesse, you're wrong.
Does he have CMC?
No.
Does he have Kyle Shanahan? Does he? I mean,
he's got Brian Johnson, really seems.
Does he have a top? Does he have a top? Does he have the best defense in the league? Like somewhere you're gonna have to take. So are we sacrificing the defense, Lobs?
The Niners.
Yeah. The question is are we sacrificing the defense? Then is that what we're doing? Because somewhere you're gonna lose it.
Did you hear Nick Bosa talk about Jalen Hurts today?
What did he say?
He looks at the rush. He said it so freely. He was like, we really didn't have to go for the sack. We just needed to keep him in the pocket because he looks at the rush. He's just waiting for a scramble lane. All you have to do is he was like, oh,
like they said it before the game. They've said it afterwards. True. I mean,
I'm out on Jalen Hurts, man. I mean, the Niners just put out the blueprint and teams are going to be able to follow it. Like he looks at the rush. Just don't give up the B gap.
I'm curious to see what Dallas does this week.
Me too. Chris says, watch JT's last breakdown of Hurts. He really made the defense look good. Missed so many reads Sunday. I just assumed they were covered sacks, but he was standing there looking at the rush, according to Nick Bosa. Lobs all day says speed wide receiver is better than Debo to open up this offense, in my opinion. Yeah, but to have a speed wide receiver, I feel like you'd need an offensive line so you could get the ball down the field. Debo is one of these guys that kind of works around your offensive line. If you're not going to spend for an offensive line, the screen to Debo helps. No? I don't know what you think, Lobs.
I think I do like the idea of a speed wide receiver, and I think the offense could be really good, but it's easier said than done. I mean, they've tried multiple times to get that guy, and they haven't panned out.
Dazza says consensus seems to be the Niners' flaw is health. In some of the easier games towards the end of the season, can't we rest CMC, Trent, Eric, etc.? We shouldn't need them to win games. That's how they lost to freaking PJ Walker, all right? That's how they lost to the Vikings. When the Niners take their foot off the gas.
I think it depends. If you're going for the number 1 seed, no, you can't do that. And if you're not going to get the number 1 seed, you can do that in week 18. So I don't think they have. If somebody's injured or hurt, has nagging injuries or whatever, like Eric does, then yes, definitely take that opportunity because you may not get it and you're not going to get it in the playoffs. So you do it now. I'm totally fine with that, but don't just start. All right, CMC gets a rest this week. Brock Purdy gets a rest this week. They're fighting for the number 1 seed and they have to go undefeated to have a chance at it. So
Michael Hamilton says every third round pick should be an O lineman.
At this point, you might as well switch up the formula.
Nah, it should be running back. Let's stick with running back. Dave Barclay says, feels like Kyle had a plan with his salary cap. Definitely not perfect, but looking back, it's like he was playing chess, putting cash where he needed for best chance at number 6, and I'm not a Kyle fan. It's been very intentional what they've been trying to do. They haven't wildly switched up their philosophy of roster building too much. They believe in not spending on offensive line.
Well, they're trying to win in a way that most teams don't. So maybe if they win this year, then he definitely knew something that most of the league didn't. But it would be a unique situation for sure. But they have a really good chance to win this year. They're the best team right now. They are the best team. Can they keep it up? Will they be the best team in 2 months or a month and a half? We'll see. But right now they are, and it's working.
They're definitely the best team right now. It's 6:59 on the West Coast, which means 49ers After Dark is over, and it's time to go switch over to Jesse's channel, Last Second Sports. Jesse, what you got going on?
Behind Enemy Lines with the Seattle Seahawks content creator. Tap in over there. It'll be a good show.
Beautiful. Go watch right now. Thank you very much for watching over here, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. I will be back with the coach tomorrow morning. See you then. Go over to Jesse's channel.